Deep in the jungles of Central America stands a structure so precise, so mathematically perfect, that modern engineers still debate how it was built without today's technology. The Pyramid of El Castillo, with its 91 steps on each side, aligns perfectly with the equinoxes, casting a shadow that resembles a serpent slithering down its steps. How did the ancient Maya achieve such precision over 1,000 years ago? This is just one of countless mysteries left behind by civilizations long gone. Across the globe, from the deserts of Egypt to the plains of Mesopotamia, ancient peoples built, invented, and calculated in ways that challenge everything we thought we knew about the past. What if the history books have only told us half the story? Today, we're diving into 25 ancient civilizations that possessed knowledge far beyond what we typically credit them with. These societies mastered astronomy, engineered impossible structures, and developed technologies that sometimes rival our own. Some of their secrets remain unsolved, waiting for us to uncover them. So stay with us, because by the end of this journey, you'll see the ancient world in a whole new light and question what else might be hidden in the shadows of history. Now, let's step even further back in time, to the very cradle of civilization itself. Long before the Maya or the Egyptians left their mark, the Sumerians were laying the foundations of human knowledge in the fertile lands between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. What they achieved over 5,000 years ago still leaves scholars in awe today. Take their mastery of astronomy, for instance. While we often credit later civilizations with celestial discoveries, the Sumerians were mapping the stars with startling accuracy. They tracked the movements of planets, identified constellations, and even created the zodiac, a system we still reference millennia later. Their lunar calendar, divided into 12 months, was so precise it formed the basis for timekeeping in countless cultures that followed. Then there's mathematics. The Sumerians didn't just count, they revolutionized how we measure and calculate. They developed a base 60 numeral system, which is why we still divide hours into 60 minutes and circles into 360 degrees. Imagine that every time you check your watch or use a protractor, you're tapping into Sumerian innovation. They even tackled complex problems like quadratic equations, a concept we wouldn't formalize for thousands of years. But perhaps their most enduring legacy is cuneiform, the earliest known writing system. Picture this: pressing a reed into wet clay to create symbols that recorded everything from business transactions to epic poetry. This wasn't just scribbling, it was the birth of literature, law, and history as we know it. The Epic of Gilgamesh, humanity's oldest surviving story, was penned in cuneiform, preserving tales of gods and heroes that still resonate today. And let's not forget their engineering prowess. The Sumerians didn't just farm. They transformed their arid environment with intricate irrigation networks. Canals, dikes, and reservoirs turned desert into farmland, feeding one of history's first urban societies. Some researchers even suggest they might have pioneered early metallurgy, working with copper and bronze in ways that defy expectations for their era. So here's the question: how did a civilization so ancient grasp concepts we'd consider advanced even by medieval standards? The Sumerians didn't just live in the past, they shaped the future in ways we're still unraveling. And as we move forward in our list, remember, these weren't primitive people. They were innovators, thinkers, and in many ways the first teachers of the modern world. Now let's journey from the fertile plains of Sumer to the golden sands of Egypt, where another civilization pushed the boundaries of what we thought possible in antiquity. The ancient Egyptians didn't just build tombs, they engineered marvels that defy simple explanation. Take the Great Pyramid of Giza, for instance. Precision isn't even the right word for it. This colossal structure, constructed over 4,500 years ago, aligns with true north to within a fraction of a degree. To put that in perspective, even modern architects using advanced tools would find that level of accuracy challenging. And it's not just one pyramid. The entire Giza complex mirrors the stars of Orion's belt with uncanny precision, suggesting the Egyptians possessed astronomical knowledge far beyond basic stargazing. But how did they achieve such feats without the technology we have today? Theories abound. Some researchers point to the use of copper tools and primitive yet effective measuring devices like the merkit, an ancient astronomical instrument. Others speculate about lost techniques like pouring concrete-like materials to form blocks on site. One thing's certain, the workforce wasn't just slaves as Hollywood often portrays. Evidence from worker villages near the pyramids reveals they were skilled laborers, well-fed and organized, hinting at a level of project management that rivals modern engineering projects. Then there's the Edwin Smith Papyrus, a medical text that reads like something from a modern surgical handbook. Dating back to around 1600 BCE, it details treatments for fractures, wounds, and even spinal injuries with startling accuracy. The Egyptians understood anatomy well enough to suture wounds, set broken bones, and recognize the pulse's connection to the heart, knowledge Europe wouldn't rediscover for thousands of years. They even had specialized tools like scalpels and forceps that wouldn't look out of place in a hospital today, and let's not overlook their everyday innovations. From toothbrushes made of frayed twigs to early forms of toothpaste, a mix of crushed ox hooves and ashes, the Egyptians prioritized hygiene in ways their contemporaries didn't. Their mastery of chemistry extended to preserving the dead, with mummification techniques so effective we can still study their work millennia later. So here's the puzzle. How did a civilization without telescopes or X-rays grasp concepts we'd consider sophisticated even by Renaissance standards? Perhaps the answer lies in their relentless curiosity. The Egyptians didn't just accept the world as it was, they studied it, measured it, and in doing so left a legacy that still leaves us in awe. As we move forward in our list, remember, these weren't just tomb builders. They were scientists, healers, and architects of the impossible. Leaving the mysteries of Egypt behind, let's turn our attention to a civilization that mastered urban living like no other of its time, the Indus Valley. Flourishing around 2600 BCE in what's now Pakistan and northwest India, this society built cities so advanced they wouldn't look out of place centuries later. Imagine streets laid out in perfect grid patterns with corners meeting at precise right angles, a level of planning that wouldn't become common elsewhere until the Romans. But the real marvel, their sewage systems. While much of the ancient world was tossing waste into open pits, the Indus people engineered underground drains, complete with manholes for maintenance. Each home had its own bathing area, with wastewater funneled into covered brick channels that ran beneath the streets. It's a system so efficient, modern engineers still study it. Now consider their standardization, a concept we take for granted today, but revolutionary back then. Archaeologists have unearthed thousands of uniform weights made of polished stone, all following the same precise ratios. Trade goods from beads to pottery were measured with these weights, suggesting a bustling economy built on fairness and consistency. Even bricks were standardized. Their dimensions followed a strict ratio of 4:2:1, making construction faster and more reliable. This wasn't just convenience, it was a glimpse of an administrative mind that valued order on a grand scale. Yet, for all their innovations, the Indus Valley civilization remains shrouded in mystery thanks to their script. Over 400 symbols have been found etched into seals and tablets, but despite decades of effort, no one's cracked the code. Some believe it's a form of proto-writing, while others argue it's a full-fledged language waiting to be deciphered. What we do know is that these symbols often appear alongside depictions of animals and deities, hinting at a rich cultural and possibly religious life. Trade was another area where they excelled. Artifacts like carnelian beads and lapis lazuli, materials not native to the region, have been found as far away as Mesopotamia, proving they were part of a vast network. Their seals, stamped with those enigmatic symbols, turned up in Mesopotamian cities, suggesting they weren't just trading goods but ideas and influence. So why does this matter? Because the Indus Valley civilization challenges our assumptions about how advanced ancient societies were. They didn't leave behind towering pyramids or golden treasures, but something far more enduring, a blueprint for modern urban life. Their obsession with cleanliness, fairness, and efficiency feels startlingly contemporary, and that undeciphered script, it's a reminder that for all we've learned, there are still chapters of their story waiting to be read. As we move to our next civilization, keep this in mind. Sometimes the most profound legacies aren't the loudest, but the ones woven quietly into the fabric of everyday life. Shifting our gaze from the orderly streets of the Indus Valley, we arrive in the lush jungles of Mesoamerica, where the Maya civilization carved their legacy into the very fabric of the cosmos. While the Indus people mastered urban living, the Maya turned their eyes skyward, weaving astronomy, mathematics, and timekeeping into a tapestry of knowledge so precise, it still leaves scientists in awe. Picture this: without telescopes or modern instruments, they tracked the movements of Venus with an error margin of just 2 hours over 500 years. They didn't just observe the stars, they conversed with them, predicting eclipses and planetary alignments with breathtaking accuracy. At the heart of their celestial mastery was their calendar system, an intricate dance of cycles that put modern planners to shame. The Maya didn't settle for just one calendar. They used 3, each serving a distinct purpose. The Hob, a 365-day solar calendar, guided agricultural cycles. The Tzolk'in, a 260-day sacred calendar, dictated rituals and ceremonies, but the Piece de Resistance, the long count, a linear calendar spanning thousands of years, designed to map eras like chapters in a grand cosmic book. Together, these systems didn't just mark time, they embedded it into every aspect of life, from planting crops to crowning kings. Now, let's talk mathematics. While Europe was still stumbling through Roman numerals, the Maya had already cracked the concept of zero, a breakthrough that wouldn't reach the old world for centuries. Their vigesimal system, based on the number 20, allowed them to calculate into the millions using just 3 symbols: a shell for 0, a dot for 1, and a bar for 5. This wasn't just counting, it was high-level computation, enabling feats like calculating the lunar cycle to within 33 seconds of modern measurements. Their codices, those rare surviving bark paper books, revealed tables predicting solar eclipses and Mars retrograde motion, proving their math wasn't abstract but applied with stunning practicality. But the Mayas' genius wasn't confined to parchment. Their architecture echoed their cosmic precision. Take Chichen Itza's El Castillo Pyramid, a stone calendar in itself. During the equinoxes, sunlight slithers down the steps, forming a serpentine shadow that aligns perfectly with a carved serpent head at the base. This wasn't decorative, it was a celestial clock, a fusion of art, science, and spirituality. Even their cities were aligned to mirror the heavens, with temples positioned to capture the solstice sun or the rise of Venus. What's truly humbling is how their knowledge persisted. Despite the Spanish conquest's devastation, Maya descendants preserved their calendars and star lore orally, proving their systems were more than elite scholarship, they were cultural lifelines. Today, modern Maya still consult the ancient Tzolk'in for guidance, a testament to a legacy that refused to fade. As we prepare to journey to the Andes to meet the Inca, remember this: the Maya didn't just study the cosmos, they lived it, turning the sky into a classroom, a clock, and a cathedral. Their story reminds us that advanced technology isn't always about gadgets. Sometimes it's written in the stars. Leaving the star-charted world of the Maya behind, we now ascend into the towering peaks of the Andes, where the Inca Empire carved their dominion into mountainsides with an engineering prowess that still defies belief. Imagine a civilization so in tune with its rugged landscape that it didn't just build on mountains, it became one with them. Machu Picchu, their crown jewel, isn't merely a city perched on a ridge. It's a symphony of stone, each block precisely cut and fitted without mortar, locking together so tightly that not even a razor blade could slip between them. This wasn't just craftsmanship, it was a defiance of physics. Even today, engineers marvel at how these structures withstand earthquakes, their stones dancing slightly during tremors before settling back into place, a feature modern buildings strive to replicate. But Machu Picchu is just the beginning. In Cusco, the fortress of Sacsayhuaman looms with zigzagging walls made of boulders so massive, some weighing over 100 tons, that their transport and placement remain a mystery. How did the Inca move these stones across miles of steep terrain without wheels or draft animals? Theories suggest they used ramps, ropes, and sheer human ingenuity, but the truth is we're still piecing together their secrets. What's undeniable is the precision. Angles cut so perfectly that the walls interlock like a three-dimensional puzzle, designed to resist both time and conquest. Now, let's talk roads, because the Inca didn't just master stone, they tamed an empire with them. Their road system stretched over 25,000 miles, knitting together mountains, deserts, and jungles into a cohesive network. These weren't simple dirt paths, but engineered wonders with staircases carved into cliffs, suspension bridges woven from grass, and rest stations placed a day's walk apart. Messengers called chasqui sprinted along these routes, relaying information across thousands of miles faster than any horse-mounted courier could in Europe. It was the ancient world's internet, a communication highway that kept the empire running like clockwork. And speaking of communication, meet the quipu, the Inca's answer to the written word. These intricate knotted cords weren't just decorative, they were a sophisticated recording system, encoding everything from census data to tax records and even narratives. Each knot's position, color, and type held meaning, a binary-like language that scholars are still deciphering. Think of it as an ancient spreadsheet, but one that could be read by touch, making it accessible across the empire's many languages. What's truly astonishing is how the Inca achieved all this without iron tools, wheels, or a formal writing system as we know it. Their technology wasn't about brute force but harmony, aligning their needs with the land's gifts. Terraces carved into mountainsides turned barren slopes into fertile farms. Channels diverted melting glaciers to irrigate crops. Every solution was rooted in observation and adaptation, a testament to a civilization that saw the Earth not as an obstacle but as a partner. As we prepare to venture east to ancient China's explosive innovations, consider this. The Inca's legacy isn't just in the stones they left behind, but in the question they pose to us. How much can humans achieve when they work with nature rather than against it? Their answer, etched into the Andes, still stands silent, steadfast, and utterly extraordinary. From the mountain peaks of the Inca, let's journey across the Pacific to a civilization whose innovations quite literally shaped the world, ancient China. While the Inca mastered stone, China harnessed fire, metal, and ink to create technologies so transformative they altered the course of human history. Picture this, a world without paper where every document is etched on bamboo or silk. Then, in the 2nd century before the Common Era, Chinese artisans pulped rags, bark, and hemp into thin, durable sheets. Paper wasn't just a convenience, it was a revolution. It spread knowledge faster, cheaper, and further than ever before, fueling everything from bureaucracy to poetry. But paper was just the opening act. In the smoky workshops of Tang Dynasty alchemists, another discovery bubbled to life: gunpowder. A mix of saltpeter, sulfur, and charcoal, this volatile powder was first meant to grant immortality. Instead, it birthed fireworks, then rockets, and forever changed warfare. By the year 1000, Chinese armies launched fire arrows and primitive bombs, terrifying enemies with what they called flying fire. Yet for centuries, China guarded this secret, using it more for spectacle than destruction until the world caught on. Now imagine navigating the open sea without a compass. Before the magnetic compass, sailors relied on stars and coastlines, but the Chinese changed the game. By the 4th century, they discovered that magnetite, a naturally magnetic mineral, could point north when floated on water. Soon, spoon-shaped lodestones gave way to magnetized needles, guiding ships across the vast Indian Ocean and later inspiring European explorers. This humble tool didn't just map the seas, it mapped the future of global trade. Yet, China's genius wasn't limited to inventions. Their metallurgy was centuries ahead. As early as 1500 before the Common Era, Shang dynasty artisans cast bronze so precise it seemed otherworldly. Their ritual vessels, adorned with intricate Taoti masks, required advanced kilns and wax mold techniques lost to Europe for millennia, but it was iron that truly showcased their skill. By the 5th century before the Common Era, Chinese smiths pioneered blast furnaces, producing cast iron on an industrial scale: weapons, plows, even statues. Their secret, high-temperature coal furnaces and innovative bellows, turning brittle metal into durable tools that fed and defended an empire. What's striking is how these innovations intertwined. Paper recorded gunpowder recipes, compasses mapped trade routes that spread iron goods. Each advancement fed the next, creating a cycle of progress. Even their lesser-known inventions, like the seismoscope, a bronze vessel that could detect distant earthquakes, reveal a society obsessed with precision and problem-solving. As we turn next to the colossal stone heads of the Olmec, remember this: ancient China didn't just invent things, they engineered the foundations of modern life. Their legacy isn't just in what they created, but in how they thought, seeing problems as puzzles waiting to be solved. And in that spirit, their greatest invention might just be progress itself. Now, shifting our gaze from China's mastery of fire and metal, we arrive in the lush jungles of Mesoamerica, where the Olmec civilization carved their legacy in stone, literally. Standing sentinel for over 3 millennia, their colossal stone heads remain one of archaeology's most tantalizing puzzles. Picture these giants, some weighing up to 40 tons, their faces staring stoically into the future. But here's the twist: the basalt rock used to create them wasn't local. It was quarried from the Tuxtla Mountains up to 100 kilometers away through swamps, rivers, and dense forests. How did they move these titanic sculptures without wheels, pack animals, or even metal tools? The answer lies in the Olmec's ingenuity. Archaeologists suspect they used a combination of sledges, rollers, and rafts, harnessing human labor and river currents. Imagine teams of workers hauling stones on log rollers or floating them down waterways on reed barges during flood seasons. This wasn't just brute strength, it was logistics mastered 1500 years before the Common Era. And the sculpting, the precision of those broad noses, thick lips, and helmet-like headgear, each chiseled with stone tools, suggests a tradition of artistry passed down through generations. But the heads are just the beginning. The Olmec may have been Mesoamerica's mother culture. Their pyramid at La Venta, one of the earliest in the region, set a blueprint for later Maya and Aztec temples. They pioneered the Mesoamerican ball game, a ritual sport that echoed across civilizations for centuries. Even their art, jade figurines with jaguar motifs, hints at a spiritual worldview that influenced later myths. Then there's their writing system. While not fully deciphered, Olmec glyphs on celts and stelae may represent the roots of scripts used by the Maya and Zapotec. Think of it, a cultural DNA threading through time. Even their trade networks stretched from central Mexico to Guatemala, spreading ideas like seeds. So why did this powerhouse vanish? Climate shifts, volcanic activity, or internal strife theories abound. But their legacy didn't fade. When you see a Maya calendar or an Aztec serpent deity, remember, the Olmec likely whispered those ideas first. Their stone heads aren't just art, they're the first chapter of a story that shaped an entire region. And as we turn next to the Minoans, keep this in mind. Sometimes the greatest civilizations leave their fingerprints not in gold or glory, but in the traditions they inspire. Leaving the stone giants of the Olmec behind, we set sail across the Mediterranean to the sun-drenched island of Crete, where the Minoans built a civilization as vibrant as the frescoes that adorned their walls. Picture a society so in tune with the sea that their wealth and power flowed from it like the tides. The Minoans weren't just sailors, they were masters of the waves, constructing ships that could venture far beyond their shores, connecting them to Egypt, Anatolia, and beyond. Their vessels, sleek and sturdy, were the lifeblood of trade, carrying olive oil, pottery, and saffron to distant ports. Archaeologists have found evidence of Minoan goods as far away as Spain and the Levant, proving their reach was nothing short of extraordinary. But what made their ships so advanced? Unlike the heavy, lumbering boats of their contemporaries, Minoan ships were designed for speed and agility. They used a combination of sails and oars, allowing them to navigate both open waters and narrow coastlines with equal ease. Their hulls, reinforced with carefully fitted planks, could withstand the Mediterranean's unpredictable storms, and their knowledge of the stars and currents. Unmatched, they didn't just sail blindly, they charted courses using celestial navigation, a skill that would later inspire the Greeks and Phoenicians. Yet their brilliance wasn't confined to the sea. Step inside the labyrinthine halls of Knossos, their grandest palace, and you'll find engineering marvels that defy their time. The Minoans had running water, yes, you heard that right. Their intricate system of clay pipes channeled fresh water into bathrooms and even flush toilets, a luxury most Europeans wouldn't see for another 2,000 years. And their drainage systems, so advanced that heavy rains posed no threat. Wastewater was efficiently carried away through stone conduits, keeping the palace floors dry and clean. The palaces themselves were more than just royal residences. They were bustling hubs of commerce, religion, and art. Multi-story buildings with light wells, vibrant murals of dolphins and bull leapers, and storerooms stacked with giant pithoi jars for grain and oil. The Minoans thrived on order and beauty, their cities free of defensive walls, a testament to their confidence in their navy and diplomacy. But perhaps their most intriguing legacy is the mystery of their downfall. Was it the volcanic eruption of Thera, sending tsunamis crashing into their shores, or invasions by the Mycenaeans who coveted their wealth? Whatever the cause, the Minoans left behind a blueprint for maritime empires to come. As we prepare to delve into the desert wonders of the Nabateans, remember, the Minoans didn't just live by the sea, they tamed it, and in doing so, shaped the course of Mediterranean history. Now let's journey from the shimmering coasts of the Minoans to the sun-scorched deserts of Arabia, where the Nabateans carved an empire out of stone and ingenuity. Imagine a city hidden between narrow sandstone cliffs, where waterfalls once cascaded down rock faces in the middle of a desert. This was Petra, the crown jewel of the Nabateans, a civilization that didn't just survive in one of the harshest environments on Earth, it thrived, thanks to their mastery of water. In a land where rain was as rare as gold, the Nabateans engineered a hydraulic system so precise it turned their capital into an oasis. They didn't rely on luck or chance. Instead, they mapped every ravine, every seasonal downpour, channeling water through a labyrinth of tunnels, dams, and cisterns, their secret catching every drop before it vanished into the dry earth. They carved channels into the cliffsides, directing rainwater into massive underground reservoirs that could hold enough to sustain tens of thousands of people through droughts. But their brilliance didn't stop at storage. The Nabateans understood gravity like no one else in their time. They sloped their channels at just the right angle to keep water moving without eroding the stone, and they lined them with waterproof plaster to prevent leaks. Some of these channels stretched for miles, snaking through mountains to bring water to the heart of Petra. And their most astonishing feat, the dramatic gorge that serves as Petra's entrance, wasn't just a natural wonder, it was a carefully designed waterway. During floods, the Nabateans used diversion tunnels to prevent destruction, turning a potential disaster into a controlled lifeline. Inside the city, water flowed like luxury. Terracotta pipes ran beneath the streets, feeding public fountains, bathhouses, and even private homes. The Nabateans didn't just ration water, they celebrated it. Their great temple complex had its own elaborate system of pools and channels, possibly for rituals or simply to showcase their dominance over nature. And all of this was achieved without metal tools. They shaped their world with nothing but stone chisels and an unshakable understanding of their environment. Petra's wealth came from trade. Spices, silks, and incense flowed through its gates, but water was its true currency. Without their hydraulic genius, the city would have been just another dusty stop on the caravan routes. Instead, it became a marvel that left even the Romans in awe. As we move next to the intellectual powerhouses of ancient Greece, remember this: the Nabateans didn't conquer the desert. They outsmarted it, turning scarcity into abundance with nothing but creativity and stone. Now, let's leave the desert marvels of Petra behind and set sail across the Mediterranean to the sun-drenched islands and city-states of ancient Greece. Here, in a land where philosophy and innovation walked hand in hand, the Greeks laid the groundwork for much of the modern world's science, engineering, and architecture. While they may not have built pyramids or carved cities from cliffs, their intellectual and technological achievements were no less groundbreaking. Take mathematics, for example. The Greeks didn't just use numbers, they transformed them into a language of the universe. Pythagoras, Euclid, and Archimedes didn't merely solve problems, they invented entirely new ways of thinking. Pythagoras' theorem, which links the sides of a right-angled triangle, became a cornerstone of geometry. Euclid's elements organized mathematical knowledge into a logical system that's still taught today. And Archimedes, he didn't just shout "Eureka!" In his bath, he calculated pi, designed levers capable of moving ships, and envisioned machines so advanced they bordered on science fiction. But the Greeks didn't stop at abstract theory. They applied their brilliance to engineering marvels that boggle the mind even now. The Antikythera mechanism, recovered from a shipwreck off the coast of Greece, is perhaps the most astonishing example. This intricate bronze device, dating back over 2,000 years, wasn't just a clock or a calendar, it was an ancient computer. With its interlocking gears, it could predict lunar eclipses, track the cycles of the Olympic Games, and model the movements of the planets. For centuries, historians assumed such technology didn't exist until the Renaissance, yet here it was, proof that the Greeks had mastered precision mechanics long before the modern era. Then there's their architecture, where beauty and function intertwined seamlessly. The Parthenon, perched atop Athens' Acropolis, isn't just a symbol of democracy, it's a masterclass in optical illusion and engineering. The columns appear perfectly straight, but they're actually slightly curved to counteract the eye's tendency to distort lines over distance. The floor rises gently toward the center, ensuring rainwater would drain away without pooling. Every detail, from the spacing of the columns to the angle of the steps, was calculated for both aesthetic harmony and structural resilience. And let's not forget their urban planning. Greek cities like Priene were laid out in grid patterns with standardized blocks, public spaces, and even early sewage systems. Their theaters, like the one at Epidaurus, were acoustically engineered so perfectly that a whisper on stage could reach every seat, even those at the very back. No microphones, no amplifiers, just an unmatched understanding of sound waves and geometry. The Greeks didn't just build things, they asked why things worked, pushing the boundaries of possibility. As we move next to the Romans, keep in mind that their empire stood on the shoulders of Greek ingenuity, proof that the greatest civilizations don't just conquer land, they conquer ideas. Now, as we step from the intellectual playground of ancient Greece into the disciplined might of Rome, prepare to witness how raw ambition and meticulous engineering reshaped the world. The Romans didn't just borrow Greek ideas, they scaled them to staggering proportions, building an empire that fused brute strength with breathtaking innovation. Take their roads, for instance. These weren't mere dirt paths but layered masterpieces of gravel, sand, and mortar, crowned with curved surfaces to shed rainwater. Stretching over 250,000 miles, enough to circle Earth 10 times, Roman highways linked provinces from Britain to Egypt, the secret standardization. Every mile was marked with stones indicating distance, while relay stations kept messengers moving at breakneck speed. These roads didn't just transport armies, they carried ideas, culture, and trade, stitching together an empire that thrived on connectivity. Then there's their signature material, concrete. While others relied on cut stone, Roman engineers mixed volcanic ash, lime, and seawater to create a paste that hardened underwater and lasted millennia. The Pantheon's dome, still the world's largest unreinforced concrete structure, stands as a testament to this recipe. Its secret: lighter aggregates at the top to reduce stress, and an oculus that slices sunlight like a celestial clock. Even today, modern scientists marvel at its durability, a stark contrast to our crumbling modern counterparts, but Rome's genius flowed literally through aqueducts. These serpentine arches weren't just feats of beauty, they were precision water delivery systems. Using gravity alone, they channeled millions of gallons daily from mountain springs to cities, with sedimentation tanks filtering impurities along the way. The Aqua Claudia, for example, delivered water so clean it rivaled modern standards, fueling public baths, fountains, and even private homes. In a world where clean water was scarce, Rome turned it into a civic right. Urban planning: the Romans redefined it. Cities like Pompeii boasted raised sidewalks, pedestrian crossings, and zoning laws separating homes from workshops. Their military camps, laid out in grid patterns, evolved into European cities like London and Paris. And let's not forget their sewer system, the Cloaca Maxima, which drained marshes and waste with such efficiency parts of it still function today. Yet Rome's edge wasn't just bricks and mortar. It was battlefield brilliance. Their ballistae hurled stone missiles with terrifying accuracy, while testudo formations made legions nearly invincible under arrow storms. Siege towers, mobile and massive, scaled walls effortlessly, and their medical corps, field hospitals with sterilized instruments and triage systems, saved countless lives, a concept unheard of elsewhere. What made Rome unstoppable wasn't just conquest, but the infrastructure to sustain it. As we pivot next to the Khmer Empire, remember, great civilizations aren't just measured by territory, but by the legacy etched into the earth itself. Now, leaving the stone-clad might of Rome behind, let's journey to the lush jungles of Southeast Asia, where the Khmer Empire sculpted an empire from water and stone. While Rome conquered with roads, the Khmers mastered a far more elusive element: water itself. Their secret wasn't just in towering temples, but in bending nature to their will with hydraulic systems so advanced they transformed a monsoon-ravaged landscape into a breadbasket of prosperity. At the heart of this watery marvel stands Angkor Wat, a temple so vast it could swallow Rome's Colosseum whole, but its true genius lies beneath the surface. The entire complex is a celestial mirror, aligned with pinpoint precision to capture the sun's equinoxes. Its moat, stretching over 3 miles, wasn't just for defense, it stabilized the temple's foundation, preventing collapse in the swampy soil. The sandstone blocks, quarried from mountains over 30 miles away, were floated down canals on rafts during flood season, a logistical ballet we'd struggle to replicate even today. Yet Angkor Wat was just the crown jewel of a hydraulic empire. The Khmers didn't just build temples, they engineered an entire water-based civilization. Their barrays, or massive reservoirs, weren't simple ponds but precision instruments. The West Barray, spanning 5 miles, held over 50 million cubic meters of water, enough to fill 20,000 Olympic pools. These reservoirs fed a spiderweb of canals that irrigated rice paddies year-round, turning erratic monsoons into predictable harvests. While Europe's medieval farmers prayed for rain, Khmer engineers flipped the script, creating drought-proof agriculture that fed 1 million people. Their canals did more than water crops. They were liquid highways. Boats laden with spices, silk, and gems glided through these channels, linking hinterlands to urban hubs. Some canals even doubled as boundary markers, their intricate grids reflecting Hindu cosmologies where water symbolized the cosmic ocean. And when floods threatened, overflow channels diverted torrents away from fields, a disaster prevention system millennia ahead of its time. But perhaps their most haunting innovation was the Phnom Kulen mountain network. Here, they carved thousands of lingas, sacred Hindu symbols, into riverbeds, so flowing water would bless every drop reaching the city. It was spiritual engineering, infrastructure as worship. Even their failures teach us. Recent laser scans reveal their canals might have overdrained soils, possibly contributing to Inca's decline, a stark lesson in ecological balance. As we prepare to explore the towering stelae of Axum, remember, the Khmers didn't just build for the heavens, they tamed the earth itself, proving that true advancement isn't just about rising above nature, but dancing with its rhythms. Now, shifting our gaze from the watery mastery of the Khmer Empire, let's travel to the windswept highlands of ancient Ethiopia, where the Axumites carved their legacy into towering stone. While the Khmers bent rivers to their will, the Axumites defied gravity itself, erecting monoliths so precise they seemed to touch the sky. These stelae, some reaching over 100 feet tall, weren't just monuments, they were feats of engineering that whispered secrets of a civilization fluent in the language of the stars. Take the Great Stele of Axum, a single piece of granite weighing 160 tons, quarried from a site over 2 miles away. How did they transport and erect it without modern machinery? The answer lies in their mastery of counterweights and ramps, techniques so advanced they rival Egypt's pyramid builders. Each stele was a cosmic billboard, intricately carved with false doors and windows symbolizing the journey to the afterlife. But here's the twist: many align with celestial events. The tallest stelae cast shadows that mark solstices, suggesting the Axumites didn't just worship the heavens, they mapped them. Trade was the lifeblood of Axum, and their coinage tells a story of global ambition. While Rome stamped emperors' faces, Axum minted coins inscribed in Greek, Ge'ez, and even Sanskrit, a testament to a trade network stretching from the Mediterranean to India. Their gold coins, so pure they didn't tarnish, became the dollar of the ancient world. Archaeologists find them as far as Sri Lanka, proof that Axumite merchants sailed monsoons with the same confidence as Phoenicians. Beneath these stelae lay subterranean tombs with vaulted ceilings engineered to withstand earthquakes, a technique Europe wouldn't rediscover for centuries. Recent digs reveal astrological symbols etched into tomb walls, hinting at star charts used to time agricultural cycles. Imagine a civilization that read the sky to plant crops while trading spices across oceans. As we leave the shadows of these stone giants, remember, the Axumites didn't just build upward, they reached outward, weaving astronomy, commerce, and engineering into a tapestry as enduring as their monoliths. Next, we'll uncover how the Hittites turned mountains into weapons, forging an empire not with stone, but with fire and iron. Turning our attention from the towering stelae of Axum, we now delve into the rugged lands of Anatolia, where the Hittites forged an empire with fire and iron. While others built monuments to touch the sky, the Hittites reshaped history itself by unlocking the secrets of metal. Their mastery of iron smelting didn't just give them better tools, it revolutionized warfare, trade, and even the balance of power in the ancient world. Picture this: around 3,600 years ago, while most civilizations were still relying on bronze, the Hittites discovered how to extract and work iron at temperatures hot enough to melt stone. Their furnaces, reaching over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, produced weapons twice as hard as bronze. This wasn't just an upgrade, it was a game changer. Swords that wouldn't bend in battle, axes that stayed razor-sharp, and armor that could turn aside enemy blows gave the Hittites an unstoppable edge. Their iron was so prized that they guarded its production like a state secret, and for centuries they were the only ones who knew how to make it on a large scale. But their innovation didn't stop at the forge. The Hittites were also pioneers of military engineering. Their chariots, lighter and faster than anything else on the battlefield, were the tanks of the ancient world. With spoked wheels and a design that allowed for quick turns, these chariots could carry 3 warriors, a driver, a shield bearer, and an archer, transforming them into mobile firing platforms. Imagine the terror of facing a Hittite chariot charge, arrows raining down as these machines closed in at speed. Then there were their siege tactics. The Hittites didn't just surround cities and wait, they engineered solutions. They built massive earthen ramps to scale walls, crafted battering rams reinforced with iron, and even used early forms of psychological warfare like spreading panic with timed attacks. At the famous siege of Kadesh, they combined these techniques to nearly crush the Egyptians, proving that brains and iron could overpower even the mightiest foes. Beyond warfare, the Hittites left another enduring legacy, the world's first known peace treaty. The Treaty of Kadesh, etched in clay and signed with the Egyptians, shows that even these fierce warriors understood the value of diplomacy. It's a reminder that their brilliance extended beyond the battlefield, into law, governance, and the art of compromise. As we step away from the smoke of Hittite forges, we see a civilization that didn't just conquer with strength but with ingenuity. Next, we'll set sail with the Carthaginians, whose mastery of the seas turned the Mediterranean into their empire. Sailing now from the ironclad might of the Hittites, we arrive at the shimmering shores of Carthage, where the sea wasn't just a frontier, it was a kingdom. The Carthaginians didn't just build ships, they engineered floating fortresses, turning the Mediterranean into their marketplace and battleground. Their mastery of naval technology and harbor design wasn't just impressive, it was the backbone of an empire that rivaled Rome itself. Picture Carthage's legendary circular harbor, the Chthon, a marvel of ancient engineering. While other ports were simple docks, the Carthaginians designed a fortified inner basin, ringed by shipyards and docks that could hold over 200 warships. The entrance was narrow, forcing enemies to approach single file, while hidden channels allowed Carthaginian fleets to slip out undetected. This wasn't just a harbor, it was a naval fortress, a testament to their understanding of security and efficiency. Their ships were equally revolutionary. The Quinquereme, a 5-banked warship, was their crowning achievement. With a bronze-clad ram at the prow and a crew of 300, these vessels were faster and more maneuverable than anything else on the water. The secret, modular construction. Carthaginian shipbuilders prefabricated parts, allowing them to mass-produce ships quickly, an ancient version of an assembly line. When Rome captured a Carthaginian quinquereme, they reverse-engineered it plank by plank, proving just how advanced these designs were. But their dominance wasn't just about warfare. Carthage trade networks stretched from the tin mines of Britain to the spices of Arabia. Their merchant ships, wide-bellied and sturdy, braved Atlantic storms to bring back precious metals, while their navigators used the stars and currents to chart routes others feared to sail. They even planted secret trading posts along the African coast, guarding their knowledge like treasure. One story captures their ingenuity, the voyage of Hanno the navigator. Around 2,500 years ago, he led 60 ships down the West African coast, possibly reaching as far as Gabon. His detailed accounts of volcanoes and gorillas were so precise that scholars still debate his route today. This wasn't just exploration, it was a calculated expansion of Carthage's economic empire. And then there's the tale of their resilience. After Rome destroyed Carthage in the Third Punic War, they famously salted the earth to prevent rebirth. Yet, centuries later, archaeologists found evidence that the Carthaginians had pioneered advanced agricultural techniques, like crop rotation and soil conservation, long before Rome. Even in defeat, their innovations endured. As the waves of Carthage's legacy recede, we turn next to the Assyrians, whose military machines and administrative brilliance forged history's first true empire. Now let's march from the naval supremacy of Carthage to the battle-hardened plains of Assyria, where warfare wasn't just a tactic, it was an art form. The Assyrians didn't just conquer, they perfected the science of domination, turning their armies into history's first true war machine. Their innovations in siege warfare and military organization didn't just change the battlefield, they rewrote the rules of empire building. Imagine the terror of facing an Assyrian siege engine. While other armies battered gates with crude rams, the Assyrians engineered towering, wheeled battering rams shielded by reinforced roofs to protect their soldiers. They didn't stop there. Their sappers dug tunnels to undermine walls, while mobile siege towers allowed archers to rain death from above, one of their most feared inventions. The Helepolis, a colossal siege tower equipped with multiple levels of archers and a battering ram at its base. These weren't just tools of war, they were early examples of psychological warfare designed to break enemy morale before the first stone fell. But their brilliance extended far beyond brute force. The Assyrians pioneered organized warfare strategies that modern militaries still study. They divided their armies into specialized units: light infantry for skirmishes, heavy infantry for frontal assaults, and charioteers for rapid strikes. Communication was key. Signal fires and relay runners coordinated movements across vast distances, allowing them to outmaneuver larger forces. Their use of iron weapons, harder and sharper than bronze, gave them a devastating edge. When they conquered a region, they didn't just loot, they systematically dismantled resistance by deporting populations and resettling loyal subjects, a tactic that kept rebellions in check. Yet their greatest innovation might have been administrative. The Assyrians built history's first professional army, paid with standardized wages and supplied by a logistics network so advanced it could feed and equip troops across thousands of miles. Clay tablets from Nineveh reveal meticulous records, everything from weapon inventories to rations for horses. They even established relay stations with fresh horses, enabling messengers to cover over 100 miles a day. This wasn't just efficiency, it was the blueprint for imperial governance. One campaign highlights their ruthlessness and precision. When Babylon rebelled in 689 BC, King Sennacherib didn't just crush the revolt, he erased the city. His inscriptions boast of diverting canals to flood the ruins, ensuring not even the outline of its foundations remained. Yet, this same king commissioned Nineveh's legendary library, preserving thousands of texts on medicine, astronomy, and law. The Assyrians understood that true power required both the sword and the scroll. Their legacy, a template for empire. The Romans would later adopt their siege techniques, and their administrative methods influenced Persia's satrapy system. Even their downfall held lessons. Their over-reliance on terror bred resentment that fueled rebellions, a cautionary tale about the limits of raw power. As the dust settles on Assyria's battlefields, we turn next to the Phoenicians, whose mastery of the seas came not from conquest but from cunning trade and cultural exchange. While the Assyrians forged empires through iron and terror, the Phoenicians carved their legacy in cedar and ink, not with swords but with sails and symbols. These master mariners of the ancient world turned the Mediterranean into their marketplace, weaving a web of trade that stretched from the rocky coasts of Lebanon to the misty shores of Britain. Their secret, unmatched shipbuilding prowess and navigational genius that defied the limits of their era. Picture the Phoenician Bireme, a sleek, double-decked warship with a battering ram clad in bronze, cutting through waves at speeds rivaling modern sailboats. Their merchant vessels, with hulls carved from resilient Lebanese cedar, could carry over 50 tons of cargo across thousands of miles. But their true innovation lay beneath the waterline, the mortise and tenon joint. This interlocking technique, later adopted by the Greeks and Romans, made their ships so sturdy they rarely needed repairs even after years at sea. navigation was their art. While others clung to shorelines, Phoenician captains ventured into open waters using celestial navigation. By day, they tracked the sun's arc with polished obsidian mirrors. By night, they steered by the pole star, a technique Homer later called sailing by the bear. Some scholars believe they even used an early form of magnetic compass, lodestone needles floating in oil, to navigate beyond the Mediterranean. Their voyages might have taken them as far as the Azores or West Africa, though their tight-lipped trade policies left few records. Beyond ships, their greatest export was literacy. The Phoenician alphabet, just 22 consonants stripped of Egypt's cumbersome hieroglyphs or Mesopotamia's wedge-shaped cuneiform, revolutionized writing. Simple enough for merchants to scratch on clay tablets or potsherds, it spread like wildfire across the ancient world. The Greeks adapted it, adding vowels to create the script that birthed Western literature. Even Hebrew and Arabic scripts trace their roots to Phoenician letters. This was no accident. Their alphabet thrived because it served commerce, enabling contracts, inventories, and treaties across languages. One legendary voyage captures their audacity. Around 600 BC, Pharaoh Necho II allegedly commissioned Phoenician sailors to circumnavigate Africa. According to Herodotus, they departed from the Red Sea, sailed south past monsoon winds no Mediterranean sailor had braved, and returned via the Strait of Gibraltar 3 years later. Though debated, their account of the sun rising on the right while rounding Africa's southern tip suggests they indeed crossed the equator. Their decline came not from failure but from success. As rivals copied their ship designs and alphabet, Phoenician cities like Tyre and Sidon became targets for empires craving their wealth. Yet their legacy endured every time a Greek trader penned a contract or a Roman galley patrolled the seas. They sailed in the Phoenicians' wake. Now, as we leave the traders of the sea, we journey east to the architects of empire, the ancient Persians, whose engineers turned deserts into gardens and mountains into highways. Moving from the seafaring Phoenicians, we now turn inland to the empire that mastered both water and land, the ancient Persians. While others struggled with deserts and mountains, Persian engineers performed miracles of ingenuity, turning barren landscapes into thriving centers of civilization. At the heart of their brilliance lay the Qanat system, an underground marvel that defied arid climates. Imagine a network of gently sloping tunnels, some stretching for miles, tapping into mountain aquifers and delivering water to the driest valleys without a single drop lost to evaporation. Persian builders dug vertical shafts at intervals, allowing maintenance and airflow, while the tunnels themselves followed precise gradients to keep water flowing steadily. This wasn't just irrigation, it was desert survival perfected. Some qanats, like those supplying the city of Gonabad, still function today, over 2,000 years after their construction. But water was only half the story. The Royal Road, stretching over 1,600 miles from Susa to Sardis, became the ancient world's internet, a highway for information, trade, and military might. Persian engineers leveled terrain, bridged rivers, and built way stations every 15 miles where riders could swap horses. A message could race from one end of the empire to the other in just 7 days, a feat unmatched until the steam engine. Herodotus marveled at these couriers, writing, "Neither snow nor rain nor heat nor gloom of night stays these swift messengers," a phrase that would later inspire modern postal services. Then there was Persepolis, the empire's glittering capital. Its terrace, carved into a mountainside, hosted palaces with columns towering 60 feet high, adorned with intricate reliefs of subject nations bringing tribute. The Apadana staircase alone displayed a parade of stone ambassadors, Medes, Babylonians, Egyptians, each carved with such detail you can still see the weave of their robes. But the real engineering triumph lay beneath the beauty. A hidden drainage system of clay pipes and channels kept the platform dry during flash floods. while massive stone joints were cut so precisely they needed no mortar, surviving earthquakes that toppled later structures. The Persians didn't just build infrastructure, they built resilience. Their qanats turned wastelands into wheat fields. The royal road bound a multicultural empire together, and Persepolis stood as proof that even the mightiest kingdoms could balance grandeur with practicality. As we'll soon see, this blend of vision and skill wasn't unique to Persia. Next, we explore how the Harappans engineered cities with surgical precision. Now let's journey even further back in time to a civilization whose mastery of urban living rivals our own, the Harappans of the Indus Valley. While we've touched on their remarkable city planning before, there's so much more beneath the surface that demands our attention. Picture a city like Mohenjo-Daro, laid out in near-perfect grids with streets wide enough for carts to pass and narrow lanes branching off like capillaries. But what's truly staggering is what lay beneath those streets. A drainage system so advanced it puts many modern cities to shame. Every house had its own bathing area with sloping floors leading to covered drains, which fed into larger channels running under the main streets. These weren't just ditches, they were carefully engineered with inspection holes for maintenance, and some even had wooden screens to filter debris. Rainfall or waste, the Harappans ensured nothing disrupted the flow of their meticulously planned cities. Yet perhaps the most astonishing revelations come from the smallest artifacts. Archaeologists have uncovered drilled human teeth dating back over 9,000 years, evidence that the Harappans may have practiced dentistry. Some skulls show precise holes drilled near tooth abscesses, likely to relieve pressure, while others reveal teeth filled with bitumen, an early form of cavity treatment. Even more compelling are the bronze and flint tools found nearby. Their designs strikingly similar to later dental instruments, but their medical knowledge didn't stop at teeth. A burial site in Lothal yielded a skeleton with a carefully set fracture. The bone healed cleanly, suggesting someone expertly reset the limb. Another discovery hints at possible trepanation, the ancient practice of drilling into the skull to treat head injuries or spiritual ailments. While we can't say for certain how systematic their medical practices were, these findings paint a picture of a society that didn't just build cities, they understood the human body with startling sophistication. What's equally fascinating is how they standardized their tools. Excavations have turned up identical weights made of chert across multiple Harappan sites, some as precise as 1.3 grams. Such uniformity suggests a level of bureaucratic organization rare in the ancient world, ensuring fairness in trade from the coasts of Gujarat to the foothills of the Himalayas. From their teeth to their streets, the Harappans engineered every aspect of life with a precision that still leaves us in awe. And as we'll soon see, this legacy of innovation wasn't confined to the Indus Valley. Next, we travel east to ancient Japan, where swordsmiths achieved feats metallurgists would struggle to replicate centuries later. Now let's cross the seas to an island nation where craftsmanship met artistry in ways that still leave metallurgists stunned. Ancient Japan. Here, the forging of swords wasn't just a skill, it was a sacred science blending spiritual reverence with technical mastery. Picture the katana, a blade so sharp and flexible it could slice through armor yet retain its edge through countless battles. But how did the Japanese achieve this centuries before modern metallurgy? The secret lay in their intricate process of folding and differential hardening. Swordsmiths would repeatedly fold layers of high-carbon and low-carbon steel, sometimes as many as 16 times, creating thousands of microscopic layers that gave the blade both strength and resilience. Then came the crucial step of coating the blade with clay before quenching, thicker on the spine, thinner on the edge. This caused the edge to cool rapidly, forming super-hard martensite crystals, while the spine cooled slowly, remaining softer and more shock-absorbent. The result, a sword that wouldn't shatter on impact, with a distinctive wavy hammer line marking the boundary between the two zones. But their metallurgical genius didn't stop at swords. Ancient Japanese armor, like the iconic lamellar cuirasses, showcased similar innovation. Craftsmen laced together small iron or leather plates with silk or leather cords, creating armor that was remarkably lightweight yet offered formidable protection. Some designs even incorporated lacquered layers to repel water and resist corrosion, a testament to their foresight in battlefield practicality. Beyond warfare, the ancient Japanese applied their ingenuity to the soil. Their agricultural techniques were centuries ahead of their time, particularly in wet rice cultivation. They engineered sophisticated irrigation systems, including canals and terraced paddies, to maximize yields in mountainous regions. One breakthrough was the use of muck boots, wooden clogs worn by farmers to aerate flooded fields, preventing soil compaction and promoting healthier root growth. They also practiced crop rotation and integrated fish farming into rice paddies, where fish waste naturally fertilized the crops, an early example of sustainable farming. Perhaps most striking is how these advancements were intertwined with culture. The same reverence for nature that inspired Shinto rituals also guided their farming methods, viewing land and labor as sacred partnerships. Meanwhile, the spiritual discipline of swordsmiths, who often purified themselves with fasting and prayer before forging, blurred the line between craft and ceremony. From the forge to the field, ancient Japan's legacy is a reminder that technology isn't just about function, it's about harmony. And as we'll see next, their neighbors in Korea were weaving their own tapestry of innovation, pushing boundaries in ways that would reshape the world. Now let's journey across the sea to a land where artistry and engineering converged in ways that would leave a lasting mark on human history: ancient Korea. While their Japanese neighbors perfected the sword, the Koreans were quietly revolutionizing the written word and the art of pottery, crafting innovations that would echo through the centuries. At the heart of their achievements was the invention of movable metal type, a breakthrough that predated Gutenberg's printing press by nearly 200 years. Imagine a world where books were painstakingly copied by hand, their knowledge restricted to the elite. Then came the Jikji, printed in Korea in the year 1377, the oldest existing book created with movable metal type. But how did they do it? Craftsmen carved individual characters into small metal blocks, which could be arranged and rearranged on a frame, inked and pressed onto paper. This wasn't just a faster way to print, it was a democratization of knowledge, making texts more accessible and preserving ideas for generations. The precision required was staggering. Each character had to be perfectly uniform in height and depth, a testament to their metallurgical skill and attention to detail. Yet their genius didn't stop there. Ancient Korea's ceramic mastery, particularly Celadon pottery, remains unmatched in its elegance and technical sophistication. Picture a glaze so delicate it mimics the jade-green hues of a misty forest, with crackling patterns that resemble ice on a winter pond. Achieving this required a near-magical blend of chemistry and artistry. Potters fired their kilns at precise temperatures, often burying them in hillsides to control airflow, while the glaze itself contained iron oxide and ash, transforming in the kilns, reducing atmosphere into that iconic translucent green. Some pieces even featured intricate inlays of white or black slip, creating stunning contrasts, a technique known as sangam. But Celadon wasn't just beautiful. It was durable, resistant to cracking, and even had antibacterial properties, making it ideal for tableware. The Goryeo dynasty's artisans took it further, crafting whimsical shapes like melon-shaped vases and incense burners adorned with dragons, proving that utility and artistry could coexist. What's remarkable is how these innovations reflected Korea's worldview. Movable type mirrored their reverence for scholarship, while Celadon embodied harmony with nature, the glaze's colors inspired by landscapes, the forms flowing like water. Even their kilns were designed with minimal waste, echoing an early commitment to sustainability. As we move forward, prepare to step into the world of ancient Mesopotamia, where writing and law took forms that would shape civilizations for millennia. The journey through these technological marvels is far from over. Now let's turn our attention to the cradle of civilization itself, where the foundations of modern society were first laid down in the fertile lands between two rivers. The ancient Mesopotamians didn't just build cities, they built systems that would shape human progress for thousands of years. At the heart of their legacy stands cuneiform, the world's first known writing system. Picture this: around 3200 BCE, in the bustling cities of Sumer, scribes were pressing wedge-shaped marks into clay tablets with reed styluses. What began as simple accounting symbols evolved into a complex script capable of recording everything from grain inventories to epic poetry. The famous Epic of Gilgamesh, humanity's oldest surviving literary work, was preserved in these very symbols. But cuneiform's brilliance wasn't just in its existence, it was adaptable. Over centuries, it was used to write multiple languages from Sumerian to Akkadian, proving that a writing system could outlast the culture that created it. Yet their innovations didn't stop with words on clay. The Code of Hammurabi, carved into a towering diorite stele around 1750 BC, introduced a revolutionary concept: written law. Imagine a society where justice wasn't arbitrary, but codified in 282 clear statutes. An eye for an eye might sound harsh today, but this principle represented fairness, punishments proportionate to crimes, protections for the vulnerable, even standardized wages. The code addressed everything from property disputes to medical malpractice, showing an astonishingly modern grasp of social organization. That stone pillar wasn't just a list of rules, it was the blueprint for legal systems across the ancient world. Look to the heavens and you'll find more Mesopotamian genius. These early astronomers didn't just observe the stars, they mapped them with mathematical precision. By the 8th century BC, Babylonian scholars had identified planetary movements, predicted eclipses, and even divided the sky into the 12 constellations we now recognize as the zodiac. Their calculations were so accurate that later Greek and Islamic astronomers built upon them. The famous Venus tablet of Amisajuka, recording the planet's movements over 21 years, proves they understood celestial cycles centuries before telescopes existed. What made Mesopotamia extraordinary wasn't any single invention, but how these breakthroughs intertwined. Writing preserved laws, laws structured society, and astronomy guided both agriculture and religion. Their ziggurats weren't just temples, they were ancient observatories where priests tracked the stars to predict floods and planting seasons. Even their city layouts reflected this harmony, with canals and streets aligned to celestial events. As we prepare to explore the rock-hewn wonders of ancient Ethiopia, remember this: the Mesopotamians taught humanity how to record, regulate, and reckon with the universe itself. Their clay tablets and stone pillars became the first chapters in civilization's endless story. Moving from the river valleys of Mesopotamia to the highlands of the Horn of Africa, we uncover another marvel of ancient ingenuity. The ancient Ethiopians left behind a legacy carved not from clay or stone, but directly into the living rock itself. Their most astonishing achievements are the rock-hewn churches of Lalibela, a cluster of 11 monolithic structures that remain one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of architectural history. Picture a bustling medieval town where, instead of constructing buildings upward from the ground, workers dug downward, chiseling through solid volcanic rock to create entire churches from the earth below. The scale of this undertaking is staggering. Take the Church of St. George, a perfect cross-shaped structure measuring 40 feet deep, with walls rising seamlessly from the surrounding trench. No scaffolding, no mortar, just one continuous piece of rock transformed into a place of worship. The precision is so exact that modern engineers still debate how they achieved such flawless symmetry with only hammers and chisels. Local traditions speak of angels working alongside masons, but the truth may be even more remarkable. Some researchers suggest the builders used advanced geometric knowledge, possibly aligning the churches with celestial events or hidden water sources that guided their excavations. Beyond their spiritual significance, these churches reveal a mastery of hydraulics. Intricate drainage channels cut into the rock prevent flooding during heavy rains, while hidden aqueducts supply water to baptismal fonts. The interiors feature arched ceilings, columns, and even windows, all carved from the same unbroken stone. What's truly baffling is the speed of construction. According to Ethiopian texts, King Lalibela commissioned these churches in the 12th century and completed them in just 24 years. Modern calculations suggest this would require removing 385,000 cubic feet of rock, equivalent to quarrying a mid-sized pyramid, without the wheel or pulley systems found in other ancient civilizations. But the mystery deepens when we examine earlier sites like the Wokro churches, hinting that this tradition may stretch back to the Aksumite Empire. The stelae of Aksum, some towering 98 feet tall, demonstrate similar precision in stone cutting. How did they erect these massive obelisks without cranes? Some theorists point to unusual grooves and notches that could indicate an advanced lifting mechanism lost to time. Others note that certain churches align with star patterns, suggesting astronomical knowledge rivaling the Mayans or Egyptians. As we marvel at these rock-cut wonders, we're left with more questions than answers. Were these techniques developed independently, or did they originate from an even older, forgotten civilization? One clue may lie in the sheer audacity of the vision, to look at a mountain and see not an obstacle but a cathedral waiting to be revealed. The ancient Ethiopians didn't just build with stone, they redefined what stone could become. And as we'll soon discover, their legacy of innovation finds echoes in the celestial navigation of another seafaring culture, proof that brilliance flourished in every corner of the ancient world. Leaving behind the rock-hewn wonders of Ethiopia, we now set sail across the vast Pacific Ocean to uncover one of humanity's most extraordinary feats of exploration, the story of the ancient Polynesians. These master navigators didn't just cross stretches of water, they conquered thousands of miles of open ocean in double-hulled canoes, guided by nothing but the stars, the waves, and the whispers of nature. Imagine setting out into the endless blue with no compass, no maps, and no land in sight for weeks, yet arriving precisely at tiny islands scattered like specks across the largest ocean on Earth. The Polynesians' secret lay in their deep, almost symbiotic relationship with their environment. By day, they read the ocean itself, the direction of swells, the subtle changes in wave patterns, even the way light reflected off distant lagoons. A seasoned navigator could detect the presence of an island over the horizon simply by observing how waves bent around it, a technique modern scientists now call wave piloting. At night, they relied on a celestial map passed down through generations. Each star was a waypoint, rising and setting at precise points on the horizon to guide them like a cosmic compass. The Polynesian star compass, or Cape Huwetu, wasn't just a tool. It was a living system with stars grouped into houses that marked 32 directional bearings. But their brilliance didn't stop there. They tuned into nature's subtler cues, the flight paths of birds, the drift of ocean debris, even the color of the clouds. The golden plover, for instance, migrates between Tahiti and Hawaii, and following its seasonal flights became a natural GPS. They observed how certain clouds gathered over islands due to heat rising from the land, or how the smell of vegetation could carry on the wind for miles. These weren't just survival skills, they were a science of observation refined over centuries. What's even more astonishing is the scale of their voyages. The Polynesian Triangle, stretching from Hawaii to New Zealand to Easter Island, covers 10 million square miles, an area larger than Europe. To put this in perspective, their migration from the Marquesas to Hawaii around 350 CE required navigating over 2,000 miles of open ocean, a journey that would take weeks without sight of land. Modern recreations of these voyages, like the Hokulea Canoe's 1976 trip from Hawaii to Tahiti, proved these methods were not just legend but precise, repeatable science. Yet the most intriguing question remains: how did they first discover these islands? Some theories suggest they intentionally set out to explore, using predictable wind patterns like the trade winds. Others point to accidental drift voyages, where canoes caught in storms might have stumbled upon new lands. But the sheer consistency of their settlements, from Rapa Nui's statues to the terraced farms of New Zealand, suggests these were no accidents. The Polynesians didn't just survive the Pacific, they mastered it, turning the ocean into a highway long before the age of European explorers. As we marvel at their achievements, we're reminded that technology isn't always about gears and steel. Sometimes it's written in the stars, whispered by the waves, and carried on the wings of birds. And just as the Polynesians carved paths across the sea, another ancient culture was forging its own legacy, not with canoes but with fire and metal. The Celts awaited, and their secrets would prove just as dazzling. Turning our gaze from the vast Pacific to the misty forests of ancient Europe, we encounter a culture whose mastery of metal was as much an art as it was a science: the Celts. While they left no written records of their own, their legacy is etched in bronze, iron, and gold, revealing a sophistication that rivaled any civilization of their time. The Celts were unparalleled metalworkers, transforming raw ores into objects of both beauty and deadly precision. Their swords, like the famed anthropoid-hilted weapons, weren't just tools of war. They were engineered for balance and durability, with some blades so well forged they could flex without breaking. Archaeologists have found Celtic swords buried with their owners, their edges still sharp after 2,000 years. But it wasn't just weapons. Their torques, twisted neck rings of gold and silver, were marvels of craftsmanship, some so intricate they required soldering at a microscopic scale, a technique thought impossible before the invention of modern tools. What's even more fascinating is how their metalwork hints at a deeper understanding of the cosmos. The Coligny calendar, a bronze artifact discovered in France, reveals a complex lunar-solar timekeeping system with months alternating between 29 and 30 days, a system so precise it corrected for seasonal drift over decades. Some scholars believe the Celts used alignments of sacred sites, like the stone circles of Callanish, to track celestial events, blending astronomy with spirituality. Their knowledge extended beyond the stars. The Battersea shield, adorned with swirling Latin patterns, isn't just decorative. Those spirals may encode mathematical principles or even maps of the heavens. And let's not forget the Gundestrup cauldron, with its panels depicting gods, animals, and celestial symbols, suggesting a mythology intertwined with the natural world. Yet for all their skill, the Celts remain enigmatic. Were their designs merely artistic, or did they hide deeper meanings? Did they, like the Polynesians, see patterns in nature that modern science is only beginning to decipher? One thing is certain: in the flicker of their forges and the gleam of their jewelry, the Celts left behind a puzzle as enduring as the metals they shaped. As the echoes of Celtic hammers fade, we're left with a tapestry of 25 civilizations, each a testament to human ingenuity. But their stories aren't just relics, they're invitations to look deeper, to question what else history might have overlooked. And perhaps in their forgotten technologies, we'll find clues to our own future. From the rhythmic waves of the Pacific to the towering pyramids of Egypt, we've journeyed across time and terrain to uncover the astonishing wisdom of 25 ancient civilizations. Each one, in its own way, defies the simplistic narrative of human progress as a straight line from primitive to advanced. These weren't just cultures surviving, they were innovating, calculating, and engineering with a precision that still leaves us in awe today. Think about it: the Sumerians tracking celestial movements with clay tablets, the Maya predicting eclipses centuries in advance, or the Inca shaping multi-ton stones to fit together without mortar. These weren't accidents, they were the products of deep observation, experimentation, and knowledge passed down through generations. And let's not forget the Indus Valley sewer systems or Rome's indestructible concrete technologies so effective we're only now rediscovering their secrets. What's even more humbling, we've likely only scratched the surface. For every pyramid or calendar we've decoded, there are countless artifacts, scripts, and sites still waiting to reveal their secrets. The Antikythera mechanism wasn't just a quirky artifact, it was a wake-up call, proving that ancient minds could conceive machinery as complex as anything from the Industrial Revolution. Who's to say there aren't more devices like it, buried or lost to time? So here's the real question. If these civilizations could achieve so much with what we'd consider limited tools, what does that say about human potential? Maybe it's time to rethink our assumptions. After all, the Celts forged swords that bent without breaking, the Nabateans harvested water from desert air, and the Polynesians navigated oceans without compasses, all feats that modern science took centuries to replicate. This isn't just about admiring the past, it's about curiosity. It's about wondering what other breakthroughs ancient cultures might have made and what we could learn from them today. Could their agricultural techniques help us fight climate change? Might their medicine hold cures we've overlooked? The answers are out there, hidden in ruins, manuscripts, and oral traditions. That's where you come in. History isn't a closed book, it's a conversation. Share your thoughts in the comments. Which civilization's technology amazed you the most? Do you think we've underestimated ancient innovation? And if you could rediscover one lost invention, what would it be? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into humanity's hidden legacy. The past has plenty left to teach us if we're willing to listen. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember, sometimes the future is hidden in the footsteps of the past.